Hello students, so let's continue the series. So in the year 1932, M.N. Roy proposed to make a Constituent Assembly for India for making constitution, and in 1938 Jawaharlal Nehru uh, declared that a Constituent Assembly should be made on the basis of adult franchise, and on that British government also accepted the proposal made by INC to make a Constituent Assembly. So for that, August offer of 1940 was released, and then in 1942, one of the British cabinet members called Stafford Cripps proposed that after World War II, a separate Constituent Assembly will be formed for India. So this was the Cripps proposal. But for the Cripps proposal, the Muslim League was not happy because they wanted a separate Constituent Assembly for them. They want a separate country, they want a separate constitution for them. So they rejected this Muslim League. So the Muslim League did not accept the Cripps proposal to form a separate Constituent Assembly for India. Later on, cabinet mission was formed. The cabinet mission was formed to solve this problem because on the other side INC is accepting the proposal, on the other side Muslim League is rejecting it. So to solve these problems, the cabinet mission was formed. On March 24, 1946, the cabinet mission consisting of Sir Pethick Lawrence, Sir Stafford Cripps and A.V. Alexander, these three members formed a cabinet mission. So these three members came to India to solve the issue of the Constituent Assembly. So Muslim League was demanding for two separate Constituent Assembly, one for India and one for them. But the cabinet mission has rejected the idea of two separate Constituent Assemblies, but proposed the idea which satisfied more or less the Muslim League. So both Muslim League and INC members have accepted the cabinet mission, and on November 1946 a Constituent Assembly was formed. Okay, so the Constituent Assembly was formed on November 1946. So it was formed under the cabinet mission. So the three members of cabinet mission are Lord Pethick Lawrence, Sir Stafford Cripps and A.V. Alexander. So they published their plan on May 16th, 1946, and INC and Muslim League accepted the cabinet mission plan on June 1946. However, even though the Muslim League accepted at the beginning, the Muslim League withdrew after some time. Okay, so this was about the cabinet mission. Now let's study about the Constituent Assembly. So here its total members are 389. Remember, it is very important. The total member of Constituent Assembly are 389, and out of these members 296 seats were allocated to British India and remaining 93 seats were allocated to princely states. Okay, total it was 389. Out of this 389, 296 were allocated for British India and 93 seats were allocated for the princely states. Okay, out of this 296, 292 members were elected from the 11 provinces. So those 11 provinces are the province of Madras, Bombay, United Province, Bihar, Central Province, Orissa, Punjab, Northwestern Frontier, Sindh, Bengal and Assam. Okay, so from these 11 provinces 292 seats are present, and the other four provinces are the chief commissioners provinces. So these four chief commissioner provinces are Delhi, Ajmer, Marwara, Coorg and British Balochistan. So all these four commissionerate provinces were given one seat each. Okay, so except the 93 princely state seats, all the other seats were given based on the population. So for every million population, one seat was allocated, and it is based on the population of Sikhs, Muslims and general community population. So based on these communities, the seats were allocated. So by this, we can state that the representatives of the communities, of all the communities, were included in the Constituent Assembly. So framing a constitution is not a simple thing. So the representatives from all the communities, from all the places, from all the sectors should be included. So based upon this process, the representation was involved. So by this we can state that the representatives of all communities, so the Muslims was represented, Sikhs were represented, all the general communities were represented. So representatives of all communities were included in the Constituent Assembly. So all the Sikhs have chosen their representatives, all Muslims, all other communities have chosen their representatives through the single transferable vote and by following the method of proportional representation. Okay, so here you can see the fourth point. So all these representatives were chosen under the proportional representation and the single transferable vote. So here, under this proportional representation, all the sections of people get representation in proportion to their population. Okay, so for suppose if there are 2 million population of Sikhs, as per the system, the proportional representation system, 2 seats will be allocated to the Sikhs. Thus, this system also protects the representation for even the minor communities. So, in this system, even the smallest community will be getting representation. So, under this system, under the proportional representative system, we have two types of voting process. Okay, one is single transferable vote and the other is list system. So, here we have chosen proportional representation by means of single transferable vote. Okay, so proportional representation system has two kinds of voting systems. One is single transferable vote and the other is list system. So imagine you and your friend are contesting in elections for one particular community seat. Okay, so if I get 20% of vote and if you get 50% of vote and if your friend get 25% of vote, you will be chosen for the seat. So this is the single transferable vote. Okay, and for we have learned two kinds of representative systems, right? Proportional representatives. One is single transferable vote, so whoever will get the majority, they will win. Okay, and coming to the list system, the list system consists of the list of candidates of one particular party. Okay, so the list of candidates for one particular party will be chosen first, and the party, not as an individual, the whole party will contest in an elections. So if that party wins, then their members will be given representation. Okay, then their members will be given power. So in single transferable voting system, a person with majority votes is chosen, and in the list system, the party is chosen. Okay, remember these type of voting systems, it is very important. Okay, so our Constituent Assembly members were chosen based on the single transferable voting system under the proportional representation. So even the small communities are represented under this proportional representation. So 292 members out of 296 seats were elected, and 93 seats which are from princely states are nominated by the heads of the princely states. So in our Constituent Assembly, 296 seats were elected seats and 93 seats were nominated seats. So we can state that our Constituent Assembly consists of partly elected members and partly nominated members. Okay, the election of 296 seats were held between July to August of 1946, and the Indian National Congress got 208 seats, Muslim League got 73 seats, and other small groups and independents got the remaining 15 seats. Okay, So, one important point to remember is in these elections, the representatives were not directly chosen by the people. They were elected provincial, um, the elected provincial legislative members in each province elected these elected the members of Constituent Assembly. So the people did not vote directly for the representation in Constituent Assembly. There were, for each seat there were elected provincial legislative members. So these provincial elected members, leaders, took part in the elections and they elected the representatives of Constituent Assembly. Okay, so at the end, 296 seats were filled, but 93 seats of princely states were not nominated. They did not nominate. They decided to stay away from the Constituent Assembly because they thought that after forming the Constituent Assembly, their independent princely states would be taken away from them. Okay, because of this reason, this 93 seats of the princely states were not nominated. Okay, so with these members, the first Constituent Assembly meeting was held on December 9th of 1946. Okay, so on December 9th of 1946, the first Constituent Assembly meeting took place. And here, this first Constituent Assembly meeting was attended by only 211 members. Okay, total we have 389 members, and out of them, princely states went away, even Muslim League did not attend, and only 211 members attended this meeting. Muslim League has boycotted this meeting. Okay, even though they got how many seats they got? They got 73 seats. The Muslim League got 73 seats, but they did not attend this meeting. They boycotted the meeting because they were about to get the separate country. So here, for the first meeting, Dr. Sachidananda Sinha who was the oldest member in the assembly, was chosen as a temporary president of the Constituent Assembly. Okay, this was one of the French practice. Okay, choosing the oldest member as a leader for a temporary president is a French practice. So following this French practice, Dr. Sachidananda Sinha was chosen as a temporary president of Constituent Assembly. So here, after that, so temporary president was chosen, and later on, elections were held for the president post and 2 vice president posts. Okay, so after the elections, Rajendra Prasad was elected as a president, and the 2 vice presidents are H.C. Mukherjee and V.T. Krishnamachari. So these 2 members are elected as the vice presidents. Okay, so now everything is ready to make constitution, but we have to go into the history of the British government acts. Now, our Constituent Assembly is going to make the policies, administrative systems, laws, and governance systems of India. Now, we have to study about the British implemented acts because our Constituent Assembly has taken all these acts, the British acts, as a reference to make our constitution. So reading the previous British government's acts right from the beginning of its central administration in India is very important for us, because to know about the constitution which was laid down, we have to study its deep roots. So our constitution roots are laid down by this British acts. So let's go into the history. So British became more powerful after the Battle of Plassey fought between Nawab of Bengal and East India Company in 23rd June 1757. So in 1765, the East India Company earned the Diwani status of Bengal, Bihar and Orissa. Okay, so the Diwani right means the East India Company can directly collect tax from Bengal, Bihar and Orissa. So after gaining this much power, the East India Company should be in profits, right? But in reality, they were in losses. The company's servants were corrupted and they were involved in many private trades. Even the company heads were corrupted totally. And the East India Company in India, even though they make full money, they were in losses and corrupted. So, for proper administration of East India Company and to remove the corruption, the British government has thought to make a stable government policies and introduce few acts. Okay, so this regulating act of 1773 was the first act made by the British government. So under this act, the British government started to administer India. So this act gave power to the British government to control the East India Company. Okay, so there were three governors in the beginning. So one is Governor of Bengal, Governor of Bombay, and the third is Governor of Madras. So this act made the Governor of Bengal as the Governor General of Bengal. Okay, so the Governor of Bengal was made the first Governor General of Bengal, and these remaining two governors, that is Governor of Bombay and Governor of Madras, became subordinate to this Governor General of Bengal. Okay, so the first Governor General of Bengal was Lord Warren Hastings. Okay, so the next is the Supreme Court was the Supreme Court with one Chief Justice and three other judges were established in 1774. Okay, so this act brought strict rules that laid down that tried to cut down the corruption. Okay, so it prohibited the company's servants from taking any bribe or including in any foreign trade. Okay, so these 3 points are main important points. I'll repeat it again. So the main features of regulating act is, the first one is the Governor General of Bengal and the Executive Council of 4 members were created to assist him. Okay, the Governor of Bengal was created. The first Governor General of Bengal was Lord Warren Hastings. So to assist Lord Warren Hastings, the Executive Council, which consists of 4 members, was created. Okay, so by this first point, we can state that the British government took control over the political functions of East India Company. Okay, now coming to the second point, let's go into this fourth one. So the second point is, it prohibited the company servants from doing any corruption or involving in any private trade. So by this, we can state that the British government took control over the administrative functions of the East India Company. Okay, the third point is, the court of directors was formed. COD, Court of Directors, was formed to inform the British government about East India Company's financial matters, civil affairs, and military affairs. Okay, so through this one, the British government took control over the East India Company. Okay, and it laid down the Supreme Court in 1774 that consists of one Chief Justice and 3 other judges. Remember here, the Chief Justice and 3 other judges were appointed by the King George III. Okay, so this gave the independent judicial system in India. So with this regulating act, the British government took control over the East India Company. So it involved political, administrative processes and involved in forming separate judicial system also. But the British government could not solve the corruption of the British East India Company servants. So to reduce the administrative defects, the British government thought to solve them by making another amendment act. So that amendment act is the amending act of 1781. So this act is also called as the Act of Settlement. So about this we'll learn in the next video. Thank you for watching.